David here with Btekt. So I just picked up my P30 Pro from the launch event in Paris, and of course the first thing that I wanted to do was take pictures with it. So I grabbed this and the Galaxy S10 and have done a little comparison. But before that, I want to talk a little bit more about this Leica quad camera setup that we see on the P30 Pro. The 40 megapixel sensor has returned, but this time it's not an RGB sensor, it's an RYYB sensor.
Our high-speed imaging signal processor, we can separate from the yellow color, the green, and the red. So it will increase incredible 40% more light intake.
Swapping out the green for the yellow gives the P30 Pro a much higher sensitivity to light, which means we should get much cleaner shots from the 40 megapixel sensor than we did last time. The sample shots and demonstration that they did at the launch event was really impressive, with the camera able to take fairly clean and saturated photos in almost total darkness. Before we get into it, I want to say a big thank you to Direct Mobiles. They have over 24 years of award-winning customer service and are definitely worth a look if you're after a new phone. Check in the video description below for a link or search directmobiles.co.uk. The black and white sensor that we saw in the P20 Pro has now been replaced with a 20 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. It also has an 8 megapixel telephoto lens which has a 5x optical periscope style zoom, which sees the camera sensor mounted horizontally to give some distance between the lens and the sensor, so you get a nice long optical zoom. That really is one of the main highlights of this camera. It is able to zoom an incredibly long way and keep a relatively good image. The 5x zoom is lossless, 10x hybrid zoom is also very good. But this camera will also zoom all the way up to 50x. 50x magnification, as you can probably imagine, isn't perfect, but it's definitely useful to have such a long reach. And if you knock it back to say 30x, it's not too bad, it's fairly usable. But what's really impressive is even at 50x magnification, it does give you fairly good stabilization, enough to at least get you a fairly clean shot. So after I picked it up at the launch event, I thought I'd take a walk down to the Eiffel Tower and compare the P30 Pro with the Galaxy S10. By all accounts, it's a very similar setup with the Galaxy S10, although you're not getting nowhere near as much zoom. It does have an ultra wide angle lens, which is actually slightly wider than the one we see on the P30 Pro. 14mm on the Samsung versus 16mm on the P30. The S10 has the 12 megapixel main and telephoto lenses, with the main wide lens having the dual aperture technology, giving it a switchable aperture between f1.5 and f2.4. The maximum zoom range on the S10 is 10x, so for maximum reach the P30 easily has the S10 beat, but the S10 does keep fairly good quality when it's at its maximum zoom. Brilliant portrait shots on both of these phones. The time of flight sensor seems to work really well, but the S10's live focus mode works great as well, and you'd be hard pressed to be able to tell the difference between the two. Overall, I think when it comes to the photos, the Huawei has got the edge on the Samsung S10, and that's really only just because of its versatility. But what about the video? Well, it turns out that the Huawei is actually more versatile when it comes to that too, because it's able to shoot video with the ultra wide angle lens and the 5x lens, and even zoomed up with hybrid zoom. The S10 can only use its digital zoom, but the quality of the S10's video can't really be beat at the moment. Although you do get beautiful images from the Huawei. S10 can shoot 4K video with the front camera as well. The new 32 megapixel front facing camera on the Huawei does seem to be a bit easier with the beautification, and for once I quite like it, because I never usually like the front camera with Huawei devices. I think overall for video you just can't beat the Samsung, but if you're more into photography, then the Huawei is definitely the way to go. I've not had the P30 Pro for very long, so stick around for my full and detailed camera review, which will be on the channel very soon. I had a great time wandering around Paris with these two incredible smartphone cameras. I love photography, so it was a real treat to get out there and be taking pictures around the Eiffel Tower. It's a really incredible structure when you see it up close, or even if you see it from afar. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, it's @Btekt, or add me on Snapchat at david.btekt. Thank you for watching guys, more to come from the P30 series very soon. My name's David and this is Btekt.